Hello, hello. Welcome to Get Connected. Hey,
Yeah,
Michael, how
good
you
morning,
doing?
Jen. I'm doing very well. How's your week going so far?
Oh, fantastic. I mean, it's been pretty rainy here in Chicagoland, but that's okay.
They're calling for snow apparently in Buffalo, New York this week.
Oh
So
no. Oh
we just
no, not
opened the pool and the pool's like 88 degrees. So my kids went and jacked up the heat. That's like their little trick. So I had it on like 75 or something like that. And one of my sons likes to sneak around and put it up to 80. And then all of a sudden I look and it was 88 this morning. There was like steam coming off the pool. And
Oh, right.
so
Yeah. So, hey, if you're tuning in, I'm Julie Barkus, and joining me, well, my co-host is Michael Tasner, and you're tuning in to Get Connected, which is a new show that we started just about a week or so ago to really serve you because we understand that you might be feeling a little disconnected in this industry. And if you've missed any of our past episodes, I highly encourage you to go and tune in. We had my accountant on last week, Maddie Brown. And how is Maddie, Michael? What'd you think?
I thought she was very good. A lot of really good practical tips. A lot of good. I always like one-liners that you can take and implement, and just a lot of really good stuff. I love that she was kind of a non-traditional CPA or non-traditional accountant, just in terms of kind of her methodologies and kind of how she
Yeah,
she
and
approaches stuff.
she's studied mindset. So, that's what really appeals to me about Maddie is that mindset is really important part of your business planning process and getting your financials in order because a lot of people get stuck and don't do their financials, don't want to look at their books, don't want to look at their numbers, and it's really a mindset issue. It's something that we have to overcome. So I think that was a fantastic show. We've got some great shows lined up for you coming up. So we're going to be live Tuesdays and Thursdays with you at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, 10 o'clock Eastern. And today we're talking about a big word, a word that I love, and that word is engagement. And maybe we could talk a little bit about engagement from your perspective and mine before we bring our special guest, Anna Gray, on. And I'll tell you a little bit about Anna right before we bring her on. But I'm so excited that she's here because it's one of the things that she specializes in is creating Facebook groups that get maximum engagement. And right now, for some of our viewers, for some of our owners and some of our directors, it's like the big means of communication.
No, definitely. I mean, there are, I guess, a couple of different centers that we have seen over the last month and a half or so, and it's the centers that have really kind of went above and beyond to engage with the families, to communicate on a regular basis. It was either the last episode or the episode, our first one, where we talked about kind of that strategy of sending out an email, a text message, and a voice broadcast at least
Yeah.
once a week. And was really happy to see that some of you already commented that you did that homework assignment. So
Woohoo.
really happy to see that. But so we've got the centers that at least that I'm seeing that are really kind of hyper communicating, and then you've kind of got some that are kind of sending out a weekly newsletter, for example, once a week, which is okay.
Mhm.
But it's not, I guess, as good as you could, and it's not the level of engagement that I'm sure Anna's going to talk about, and the level of engagement that I'm sure that both you and I would like to see. But then
Right.
you also have some of the other centers that they're just still kind of paralyzed a little bit and not really sure what to say or how to phrase it. And the downside to that, as we've been talking the last couple of episodes, is I'm really concerned that that level of loyalty isn't going to be there when you're continuing to kind of get back up to steam. And there's a lot of states that are now starting to reopen things, and
Mhm.
families that we're already starting to see. And I know you mentioned it as well when we were talking a little bit earlier today, of phone calls are starting to kind of rise back up, and inquiries and leads and things like that. So there's never a better time than now to really start to increase your engagement with those families, and even your past leads as well.
Yeah. And I even think about using the word engagement as opposed to the word retention because we often talk about retaining staff and families. But I think about retaining like we're building a wall and we don't want them to escape over that wall. Where I think about engagement as being something that just really inspires them to want to be a part of what we're doing. And to me, there's a big, huge difference between engagement and retention. So if we're creating an engaged community of followers, I think we're really setting ourselves up for success now and in the future. Because with relationships, everything is easy. And without them, everything can become incredibly difficult. So I
No,
love engagement versus retainment or retaining.
no, that's a really good point. I like the analogy of the wall and trying to keep people in, and but I also like that you pointed out the engagement with the staff, and I think that is just one of those that I know that you deal a lot more with than I do, but with the centers that we're working with, I'm definitely hearing from a lot of the owners that they're nervous about staff wanting to come back, that the whole kind of unemployment payments and just all those different things that are kind of creating a little bit of uneasiness. But I know that we've obviously talked a lot about just in literally the last two episodes of having that compelling vision so that
Mm.
you have that to really kind of make sure that you're rallying the staff around. And they're definitely, they're part of your tribe. So obviously the families are the ones that are paying your bills, but if you don't have your staff there that are there to help serve, we have seen it where a staff member has left a center and then all of a sudden a week later enrollments drop by 20 families because they just had such a great connection with that particular staff member, the teacher, the director. And then I kind of try and reverse engineer it to see what happened. And a lot of times it just, you weren't necessarily treating your team kind of as a family and having that level of engagement that I know that you've preached, Julie, and I'm sure that Anna's going to talk quite a bit about as well. But they're definitely often, not always, but they're often the kind of forgotten frontline soldiers, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, I mean, imagine how can you be successful without your staff, and how can you be successful without your parents? And there are issues, that come up with each of those things that become like, oh my goodness, if I just didn't have to have staff, or if I just, could do this by myself, because a lot of people get into the business because of their love for the kids.
Sure.
And then there's this whole business side of the equation. So yeah, so we deal extensively with that engagement piece of it. And I know also with the work that you do, Michael, too, you're looking at websites, thinking like, are these websites engaging? And can you tell us, maybe give us a few little pointers on making a website?
That's a great,
yeah,
that's a great thought. So,
to me, it's just another extension of you. And if they go to your website and that's not engaging and they're not feeling like your presence, I think we're missing something. So let's hear what Michael has to say.
Oh, and it's one of those. I can tell when your website is authentic or not. And the easiest one, and it's the simplest analogy, but do you have stock images of kids on your website versus real families? Do you have stock images of what your happy team looks like? That is, you literally went to like iStock Photo and typed in happy team and you downloaded an image for $5 and you slapped it up on your website. So that used to work 5-10 years ago where people really weren't able to discern the difference. But now everyone's got a website. Everyone's on social media. There's people that are on every social platform imaginable. That level of authenticity needs to really spill through. And we're seeing much better results through video. So we're really trying to work with our centers and have the directors, have the teachers, have the owners put out these short little 1-minute videos so that they're a little bit more engaging. They're just, it puts your brand into a different league. So, if every child care center website has the same type of content, the same navigation, so about our center, about our programs, contact us, learn about enrolling, and everything is kind of cookie cutter. Yeah. It really doesn't separate you from the pack. So we've been encouraging to kind of take it to the next level or building out kind of parent portals, for example. And those are more just to kind of give them a secure login and password, for example. So if they want to look at photos of their kids, for example, that they don't want on social media, to easier communicate with the teachers. But the other thing that kind of goes along with it, but it's a little bit in a different league, is we've been actually rolling out virtual classrooms. The last month and a half, we've been building out as many of these virtual classrooms as we can.
Oh, cool.
So that it's not necessarily like Facebook groups, because it's more structured in the sense of the intention is to give the parents kind of a set of, here are some different curriculum they can go through. Here are some activities they can do with their kids, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc.
Mhm.
They can upload videos of the kids or the families that are kind of doing the activity. Like there was a fun one that I just saw one of the centers posted last week of learning about birds. So there was kind of, hey, here are a couple of videos to watch to learn about birds, and then here's the little exercise that you're going to do, and you're going to cut out this and that, and it's kind of it's giving a little bit of engagement, but it's
Yeah.
also just that's probably more of a retention tactic rather than an engagement tactic. But
Yeah. Well, and the cool thing is, when they come to the website, there's like more for them. So it's not just a place where it's like, here's our flyer online. It's like, and I think it is engagement because it's come log in, they get an ID and a password, and then they get access to all the different trainings that you're putting out there, right? If I'm understanding
Exactly.
correctly.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so obviously it depends on the curriculum, and some of these centers I think are a little bit easier to do than others. For example, Montessori is a little bit more hands-on, so I think those centers it's been a little bit easier to translate some of the stuff that they would do in the classroom to some stuff that you can do at home. And I mean, the parents can interact back and forth, and obviously they enjoy seeing pictures of the other families that are doing things. And I do think that there's going to be a level of this new norm of whatever that is, of wanting to have that as an extension. And
Yeah.
we initially thought that that was going to be like a substitute, so to speak, for a month or two. But what we're encouraging the centers to do is, why not continue to offer this forever, and
Right.
to be able to give that away to parents just as another way to separate yourself from the pack. So it
Yes.
doesn't have to be, oh, if we ever have to social distance again, that you have this, but
Right.
rather, hey, if you want to, I mean, have these exercises at home, or if little Johnny is sick for the day, but you still want him or her to log in and check something, that they're still able to be connected. And
Yeah.
it's just another value add. I mean, if you already have the content and the resources, you might as well continue to put them out there.
Yeah. And also imagine if you're already full and you can't take
Sure.
clients. I mean, this could be an extra revenue stream for you if you're building this out, where people can come and get your online learning or your online reading or whatever it is that you're doing for a certain dollar amount. But it could be an extra revenue generating activity for you too. So there's a lot of centers I work with where they're like, we're totally full. We have a wait
Sure.
list. We have no problems getting people in. We're dealing with the staff piece with them, but but there's a lot of people who are like, oh, how do I get more money? So this is really thinking outside the box. And it's funny, I don't know about you, Michael, but I've been preaching it for years. Read stories online, go online, our owners, get your face online, read a bedtime story. And we've been giving these strategies. And now, because there's the pandemic and it's crisis, we're seeing more and more people doing that. And I do hope that it's a trend that continues, because I've been preaching it for like years, like, go read a story, just do something like that to connect with people. Because, and Anna's going to share with us about really, the engagement that is possible on Facebook. So, think about this as an extra revenue stream for you. So,
Hold on, check this out. So here's what I would suggest, because a lot of centers have said, well, what do I charge for this? And I want to give you a couple of different ways to think about it. So, and they're all good options. So the first option is you just have a flat price. So let's just say $50 a week. So I'd say the average center that we're working with that is doing this, they're about $50 a week. Now, if the family is still enrolled and the child is still attending, we suggest you give that to them gratis. So this is an add-on. But if they chose to stay at home, then you could say, well, we've got this great tool up and running. You're going to get a daily lesson, et cetera, et cetera. It's only $50 a week. So that does start to get some revenue back in the door. So that's one option. The second option, this one it's a little bit unique, but it's one of my favorite, is pay what you want. And this allows you to have a little button on the website, and you can say, you can pay whatever you would like. You put a minimum, so you're not going to allow people to pay $1, for example, but let's say the minimum is $25. And then there's always a little note that says the average family is paying $47, for example. So they can see the minimum, they see the average, and they can pay $25, they can pay $100 a week. I mean, they can choose what they want. And then the third option is kind of a combination of one of the other, but you decide to charge $50 a week, for example, but you donate half of that or a portion of that to first responders, some of the local community. You take it and then you form a scholarship for other families. So that is actually my favorite. Some of the centers are doing that option. They're charging $50 a week, but then they're giving it away 100%. Obviously, centers are in different situations from a financial standpoint. So, but I mean, imagine the goodwill that you're also creating if you're, even if it's, I mean, you got 10 families at $50 a week. I mean, again, that's another $500 in revenue. And if you're taking $200 and maybe you're ordering lunch from one of the local cafes and it's being delivered to the hospital, and you can do a nice little Facebook post or a little video or something. It just, you're continuing to create that goodwill.
Yeah,
but there are definitely centers that, I mean, we've got a few centers. One of them has 173 people that are enrolled in paying. So, I mean, if it's done right and executed well, it definitely can be a nice moneymaker, but just something fun to consider from a financial standpoint.
Yeah, I think that's incredible information. I hope everybody's enjoying it. If you're tuning in, make sure you leave us some comments, give us a like, give us a love, leave comments, and we will come back after the show wraps up and interact with you. The main place where this is broadcasting is Michael's page, and you're No Joke Marketing for Childcare?
Local childcare marketing. So we've got
local
it there.
Childcare marketing. Okay.
Yeah.
I know we've all got like several pages out there, and then mine is just Childcare Business Success, and we've got that, and we've also got a group. And I wanted to show off our T-shirt. Can I do that?
Please, definitely.
We bring Anna on here. Yeah. So we launched a line. We had a contest in our Childcare Business Success group. I think I shared that last week, and we launched our line, and we actually started getting the merchandise in. So I'm so excited that we have our Always Essential. I can't get my whole thing in here, but childcare provider, unless I back up. But we have like 4 different designs and all different colors. And I'm really excited because our people right now are starting to get their shirts and they're posting them in the Childcare Business Success groups. So I encourage you, if you're interested, go to happychildcareteam.com for your Always Essential gear. So I'm just going to get that in there as a little plug. All right. Are we ready for Anna?
Definitely. Let's introduce Anna and let's bring her on. So let me add her to the stream here.
Get ready, get your pens and paper out because we are going to be flooded with a wealth of information. So I'd like to introduce Anna Gray, who I met on Facebook. She was doing some Facebook ads. And I said, you know what? I really got to get in touch with this person. I started following her videos, and she's also got podcasts out there. But her passion, well, she's got a couple passions. One, you won't believe this, but she's like a full-time nurse, and she could tell us about that. But in the meantime, she is really obsessed with figuring out what makes Facebook groups work. And if you don't have a Facebook group set up and you're like, oh, why do I have to do that? We're going to tell you today why you have to get your Facebook group set up and how to create maximum engagement in your Facebook group. So I really recommend one for staff, one for families, and we're going to talk to you about that. And then as Anna's sharing some ideas, I'm going to talk to you about staff engagement in those groups as well, because there's so many things that you can do. And I think now is just an amazing time to think about yourself as an octopus, and you are wrapping all of your arms around every single person that you can in childcare or just in your community, so that when it comes to enrolling or hiring staff, you've got your cream of the crop pick in terms of who's going to be part of your vision. So Anna, welcome to Get Connected with Julie and Michael.
Thank you for having me.
So good to have you here. And I know you worked a late night shift last time. I think you sent me a message. What was it, like midnight?
Well, I'm on the West Coast, but yes, I did not get home until 9:30 Pacific time. So yeah, it was a long day.
So you are a full-time nurse, right? You're in surgeries, like
I am,
3 intensive days a week.
Yes.
And the reason I know this is because I'm in Anna's group and she shares it. So I know more about Anna than I'm sure she knows about me, because I follow her videos and I watch, and she shares her life. And we're going to talk about that. But what inspired you, or what was it that created the fascination within you to really understand Facebook groups and creating maximum engagement in them?
Well, thanks again for having me, you guys.
You're welcome.
This is really fun for me because typically I talk to online business owners and not necessarily what we call, brick and mortar.
Mortar.
So I can speak though from both sides because I am also a parent who has used childcare. Of course, my kids are teenagers now, but I was definitely a childcare user. So I can speak from both sides. A little bit about my past, which leads up to I call my Facebook group nerdiness. I like you said, I am a full-time nurse. I work in the operating room, and I have for 20 years. About 10 years ago, I decided to build an online health and fitness business, and it was incredibly successful. And it was incredibly successful because I used Facebook groups. Facebook was the way to market it, and groups were really how it was like my superpower. So about 2 years ago, I decided I was done with health and fitness, and I really wanted to hone in on something that I was really good at, and that was building communities, whether it was building a team of people or building a highly successful business using Facebook groups. And, really nobody was teaching it. And I had this really fun spin on it and how I was successful. So for the last 2+ years, I have been a Facebook group strategist. And it goes beyond your typical, things you Google on about Facebook groups. So it's fun for me. It's outside of, nursing. So it's kind of a break away, but I absolutely love it. I love the connections that I've made because of Facebook groups for now 12 years, So that's a little bit about my story and why I chose to teach Facebook groups. And I think that especially right now, Facebook groups are really, really the way to go when it comes to, like you said, engagement, and really keeping people in I love your octopus, in your grip, keeping people, you being front and center, so that when things do open up or people tend to talk, right? On social media, we tend to be social. Yeah. So what a better way to have an incredible Facebook group where your members can talk about your group, and it's a great referral base. So it goes beyond, the engagement with your employees in a group or the people that use your service. So I think that Facebook groups, especially right now, everybody loves Facebook groups. In the old days, 10 years ago, nobody loved Facebook groups because we were all added to groups that we didn't want to be a part of.
Well, we were just trying to get our grip on what the heck we do with a Facebook page, let alone now there's groups. So what do we do?
Right. Well, the great thing is that Facebook groups are easy. If you're on Facebook, chances are you're in at least one group. Chances are.
Yes.
So you know how Facebook groups work. There is a difference between, a business owner's Facebook group or an employee's Facebook group versus a community Facebook group, right? We've seen the difference between a garage sale group versus a business group.
Sure.
There are differences, and there are differences in the way that people show up to them. And so I love the fact that you've mentioned separating the group, and keeping an employee group versus the people that you're serving group, because those people show up differently. So your content is going to be a little bit different, but Facebook groups are easy because everybody's on there and it's a click of a button.
Right. So when we're looking at Facebook groups, what do you think is, so I'm thinking we've got Facebook pages. We're trying to manage our page. Then we've got groups, and we're going to create groups for our parents. We're going to create groups for our staff members. How do we interact differently, or how do we show up differently on a page versus in a group?
Well, that's a great question, because I think this is how I look at pages versus groups. Pages are that first impression, like Michael was saying, on the website, the difference between stock images and real life images. It's that first impression. Your Facebook page is no different. That is that first impression. That's People are on social media. They're going to click on your page and you're going to see who you're about, right? But the Facebook group goes a step further. It's once they get through the door. I always like to use that reference. They get through the door and they're in this room, and it's this community, it's connection. It's more than that first impression. It's like that next level, get to know how you work, your philosophies, more than that first impression. So really the difference is that your page is really that information that you're providing outside of the wall. And the group is that, behind the scenes community and connection. That's how I easy reference between the two.
Community and connection.
Yeah.
So coming from a parent's perspective, and let's say that your kids were currently in childcare right now, what is it? And, knowing what you know about Facebook groups, what do you think our owners or our leaders in this industry should be doing in their groups with their interaction with their parents and their families?
Well, I think that I love to put myself in this position because I go back and I think about, what life was like when my kids were in childcare, and if their center had opened up a group, what would I like, right?
Right.
And being that owner or the person that's running that group, how to make it so it's not this inundating extra thing. Oh my gosh, I have to post this. I don't know what to post. And it really comes down to, obviously, as the owner, not overthinking it. If you think about where you're located in a community, right? You want people to talk about your location. You want the locals to talk about you. So you're in a local community. So what would set you above and beyond if I were a parent coming into your group? Yes, I want the information and the communication about what the things that you offer, like the portal on your website, those kind of things. But I also want to get to know you as a center on another level and, humanize things and make it fun, because we as parents typically show up to Facebook groups because we want to connect with other parents, or we want to connect with maybe the teachers, or we want to connect with you on another level. So the content is really that community-based content. So maybe, sharing other communities or sharing, I know for me, my child care center, it was in a parking lot where there's this local donut shop, and this local donut shop, this family has been around for a very long time, and everybody loves this donut shop. And, when unfortunately one time they were broken into and everybody came to their rescue. And so, celebrating the people around you is a really fun way to not only get exposure for your center, but also showing that you're human as a daycare, or as a childcare center.
Right.
I know I'm back in the old days, but you see what I'm saying? It's really stepping beyond teaching. You can leave that teaching part in the portal.
Yeah.
You can really connect with your parents on a human level. And we've found that, I have friends that are teachers and they miss their students. So it's really a way to connect on a human level versus like, here's my child care center, here's the information that you need. And that's what everybody else is doing, right? Yeah. Those are the people that are going to lose people, is when you're just being that cookie cutter. This is really an easy way to set yourself above everyone else, because nobody's doing that.
Yeah.
And they really get to know you. And you know what? A lot of the times for me, when I was a parent using a child care center, I wasn't necessarily the one picking my child up. My husband was. So I didn't really get to know the teachers, there was a woman who used to cook for my kids, and my kids loved her, right? Yeah. I never really got to know her because I wasn't the one physically going to pick up my kids. So it's another way for the other parents to get to know the staff and really get to love them so that they can refer their parents. And then, like you say, maybe those centers are full and you are getting referrals. Well, you're getting referrals to that outside portal. I mean, it's a great centerpiece of really getting that information out. And people are on social media, people are on Facebook. I mean, they may not be commenting or liking or anything, but people are reading.
Yes. And I agree with you. And I think one of the most important words, we'll see what Michael says, is, the humanizing yourself. So a lot of times we're worried about appearing on camera. We want to be like perfect and look perfect. And I tell you what, when Anna's in our groups, a lot of times she looks far from perfect. She's in her scrubs with her hair she's like, this is what my face looks like after wearing a mask for, 12 hours. And sometimes she's hot and she's sweaty. And, so it's not about being perfect or looking perfect or even saying the perfect thing. It's really about just being human. And some parents have been, some childcare owners, directors have been saying, okay, well, what do we say in our groups? The center is closed. What do I do? I said, well, hey, it's a great time for a virtual tour, or it's a great time just to go in a classroom and say, you know what? This is one of my favorite rooms that we have in our childcare center because we make magic happen in this room. And this is where little Johnny took his first steps. And I remember that day. So you talk about those things that are just really close in your heart, and you're establishing some emotional connections that are going to go far beyond the video that they're watching. And I know Michael and I do quotes, but I always remember, who was it? I think it was Mary Kay Ash who said, well, there's a couple people who said things that are similar, but it's about making people don't remember what you said, but they remember how they feel. So they're not going to remember necessarily the words, but if you could generate and evoke feelings in your group, then that's going to be really important for continued engagement. And the same thing, like Michael was saying, you put that photo of a real team, or your team in our Always Essential gear, and you put that on your website, and there's feelings in that picture. It's going to generate different feelings when people come to your website and look at you. What do you think, Michael?
And it's also what I like about Facebook groups and how Anna was phrasing it as well. It is, think about why people are on Facebook in the first place. So Facebook and social media, and that's why TikTok has been so popular as of late, is that it's a little bit of escapism, and people are going to these channels to kind of relax a little bit, to have fun. So the group it's not meant to be insanely formal. It's not designed to be all of that curriculum and things like that. And that's a completely different type of business model, that if someone is paying for a Facebook group and you're going to get access to these courses or things like that. So you've got to keep in mind, again, that the parents and your team, everyone is already stressed out and having their individual challenges and things like that. So if you can make their life a little bit more fun, a little bit more enjoyable, and I know the word that was used several times is kind of humanize your brand. I'm huge with that.
Yeah,
it's definitely going to go a long way. And are there going to be some families that might judge because the picture isn't perfect, or because they're used to everything being prim and proper? Sure. But
you have something hanging off your face while you're talking. It happens.
Right. Execution, it is always going to trump inaction any day. So don't let those things kind of trip you up. And I do think that a lot of the center owners and even the staff, they're worried about, am I going to mess up on a word or something like that? And we did a study of kind of what videos converted better. So I used to own a video studio. I'm huge with that, all things video. So one of the reasons I was doing this, I love video. It's just a great way to communicate. And we looked at videos that were really polished. So videos that our studio did, the either actor or the person had makeup on, their hair was flawless, lighting was on point. And then we compared those to like just videos that were just shot very quickly, that might have had some blunders or things like that. And the videos that were even like a little bit shakier, for example, as long as the audio was clear, those videos outperformed the professional ones every single time, sometimes 5 or 6 times to 1.
Wow.
So it just goes to Anna's point of just getting yourself out there and
Show up
just,
as you are.
yeah, exactly.
Well, I like to add to that, especially with what's going on now. I don't know about you, but my absolute favorite things in the beginning of this craziness is watching these artists, these musicians, and they're in their kitchen in their pajamas with their dog here. Those were really engaging and it just sucked you in. So it's really the same concept where maybe they aren't perfect. Maybe they do have, oh my gosh, they're wearing slippers that are not brand new, things like that. People are looking for real human beings. I don't know. I that was what I love the most, is really kind of taking it down to really like, who are these people? You always wonder, who are these people? And it just goes to show you, like you said, I mean, I'm glad that your test was the same, experience that I experienced when it comes to, the perfect video or the, not so perfect. And I will tell you that I get messages all the time when I'm in here and, I have my makeup on, things are great. And then I get messages that like, I miss your videos of you in your car. I used to only shoot videos in my car and it was, a ponytail and people actually miss that. So you don't have to be perfect. You just have to show up.
And the other thing that I like that you said too was, you're a busy parent and you're coming into the childcare program and maybe the husband's picking up the children or vice versa, and the other parent doesn't really get to know you. So this is a great opportunity to create that connection, to create that engagement, which leads to you retaining clients and customers for longer periods if both parents are really bought into who you are and what you're doing. And I've always heard too that most of our referrals come from people who like us or love us, but they don't even know us. So how are people going to know you if you're not putting yourself out there? And I don't care if you show up on a video in curlers or like, here's my morning routine and I've got 20 kids and we're brushing our teeth, whatever it might be. But yeah, just to see the real side of you. So, and I think that's just such an important point, that it allows both parents to connect in a group with you in a very real way. Plus, when you think about the way things are normally, parents come in, they drop their kids off, and then our owners and our directors, like, they don't even say hi. They're so busy. They run out the door. I don't really get to know them. And then when there is an issue with the child or you've got something positive to say, it's like, you don't have this relationship built with that parent. So groups are a great way for people just to really get to know you. And that's really important. And like, I feel like I know Anna, it's going to create the same dynamic. These people are going to feel like they know you and, almost sometimes even put you on celebrity status if you're going live on your business page too. But it's like, oh, I know you. I've seen your videos and I love you and I like who you are. And people said that for me. They're like, from watching your videos, you look like you're the easiest person to talk to. So I'm able to create partnerships with other businesses who serve the childcare community or whatnot, because they're like, oh, we liked that video and it was my hair up and it was a windy day and it, I was like, oh, it looked awful. But, nobody cares how you look, honestly. They're listening to your words in the long run.
No, that was great. I mean, it allows you to really kind of move away from being a commodity, I think, as well. I mean, there's a lot of different childcare centers out there, and some of you are offering the same type of service, but this also, it just takes that human interaction level to another notch and really starts to kind of move you just into a different league. So I know we've got quite a few people listening. Anna, can you kind of give maybe the quick and dirty short version of, and what would they do next? So let's say they've got a Facebook page, they've got a couple of hundred families that are on it, whether they're all enrolled or not, I guess is a different story, but kind of what would you kind of give them as kind of some of the play-by-play, and how could they kind of get something rolling in the next couple of days?
So are you talking about going from their Facebook page, like into a group?
Yes. So if they wanted to, so let's say they're like, I love this strategy. I want to start inviting my parents to a group. And that I think what ends up happening is they start to overthink things. What am I going to name it? Is it public? Like all those things. So maybe give us kind of the quick and dirty, so that if we put out a challenge of, I mean, hey, the first couple of centers that have a group up and running and you invite your parents, that maybe we throw them in a contest and I'll send them a copy of my book. Maybe Julie sends out one of her Always Essential t-shirts or something like that. I love seeing people taking action and I'm worried that a lot of people will say the strategy sounds great, but yeah, it's too complicated. So
we need to give away some prizes. I got
yeah,
my business success book too.
love
So
it.
yeah, t-shirt book. Yeah, let's give stuff away.
Okay, that sounds great. That sounds exciting. I think yes, you're absolutely right. People get frozen with the possibility of number one, what should I name it? That comes up all the time. And number two is how do I manage this, right? I think people always put the cart before the horse. So in this case, the first thing they would do is just click that little button that says join, create a group. And the great thing is that you can always change the name of the group, but just give it a name. And then I'm guessing that they have an email newsletter, send out an email newsletter to your parents and say, hey, I've just joined this group. And you talk about contests. Well, maybe they can create a contest about naming the group. Would you please help us name this group? Here's the link to join. And that's it. And then in the group, your very first post is obviously a welcome to the group and your contest about naming the group. And it gets people excited and there's buy-in. You know, if they were able to name the center, I mean, what better way to, you know, they're able to name the group. And I know that's one of my favorite things, and I've done it over the years, is asking your followers, your audience, what should I name something? Because truthfully, for me, I am not that creative when it comes to names. My business page is called They Call Me Banana. That's as creative as I get. My groups have always been named by the members. So I would say the easiest thing to do is click the button and then name the group, you know, the name of the center, and then send out a notification that says, currently the name is the name of the center, but I really want to connect with you guys on a human level. So maybe you can help us name this, and we're going to run a contest this week, and you know, we'll take all the responses. And that's really an easy way to just get the ball rolling. And what you'll find is people will show up, and you'll get to know those members a little bit better and how they show up. So then the next post and the next piece of content is really kind of built on that. It's how they show up or what they said or what you see. And I love to create content, and I don't like to say on the fly because that's overwhelming. It's really, I listen to what's going on in the group and I create the content around that. So this is a great way to initially get people into a group, and it really kind of puts the pressure off of you. You create the group, you put an image up, you know, maybe of the front of your center, and then you can create another contest later of like, pick the best banner, you know, and it's really that engage, like you talked about in the beginning, it's engagement.
Mm-hmm.
It's having the parents be part of the center, not just the center speaking to the parents. It's really they're part of it, right?
Right.
Which is what I love about groups. It's really kind of puts the members kind of in the front seat as well, if you allow that. And I think there's no better way to get people to continue to show up is really giving them a piece of it. So that's really the quick task to make it fun and not overwhelming.
Yeah. And I think that your group continue on with that theme too, of keeping it fun. And it doesn't have to be overwhelming. You know, we do a lot of, in our childcare business success group, we do a lot of true or false, you know, true or false, you know, just comment below. So I'll make a statement and I say, is that true for you or false for you? And I think in the group, if you could connect with the pain, and I want to say this too, is that you don't just have to have a staff and a families group. You can also have like a community group that you create to connect with all parents looking for childcare or all staff who are looking to work in the industry. So you can have a multitude of groups for different purposes. You know, some will be like, okay, this is the community group. And I think it would be cool to get your current families in there, but say invite other people to come on in and join us. But if you could connect to the pain that your parents are feeling, I mean, that to me, and I know Michael could talk about that, is one of the most powerful things that you could do for marketing, is to let them know that you really connect with what they're saying and that you understand their pain. And then that's going to, again, get them connected with you, which is going to help them engage in your services.
Oh, it's one of those that, I mean, people will move much, much faster to remove themselves or to get away from pain than they are to move to pleasure.
Mm.
So often, and it's tough in the childcare space because a lot of times the centers that we work with, they're not used to, I guess, the tough love. I mean, I used to run a show that I'm probably going to resurrect called Your Marketing Sucks. And I mean, and it's genuinely just about, I mean, you need to up your game. And I mean, you've got a sign on the front of your childcare center that's missing a letter that fell off 2 years ago, and you're not sending email and all these different things. And if you really want to be serious about your business, you need to up level your marketing. And so you can talk about the pleasure. Okay, great. It's going to help you grow your enrollments and things like that. But if you pivot it and you start talking about the pain aspect of, so do you want to go out of business? Do you want everything that you've worked for to start to crumble in front of you? Then the lives of your team are going to get to be destroyed. And then all of a sudden you have their attention. But no, this is great content. I know we've got about 10 minutes left, but I loved what you just said, Julie, on considering Facebook groups that are a little bit more external or a little bit more broad is a better way to say it. So I don't know, Anna, if you have some strategies around that. I know a couple of the centers that we've worked with have started kind of local mom groups, since those tend to be very influential, for example, either in a good way or a bad way, depending on how things are going at your center. But what would your thought be on that? I mean, I'm in Buffalo, New York. Let's say there was a center in Buffalo, for example. Would you suggest that they initially focus on getting one for all the existing families and prospects? Would you focus that they go a little bit more broad and maybe they have a group called Buffalo Parents and they try and kind of brand that? And then kind of their brand is kind of on the site, but they're really not the main focus. What is your thought there?
I think that's a great question. I always use the analogy. My husband's a realtor, right? And so I always use this, like, what would he do if he started a Facebook group? And how would you keep people in that group when they don't need, they don't have a real estate need today, but they need one, 6 months from now. So just recently, I know of a realtor who created a group. This was brilliant, by the way. And it is a group for our local restaurants, takeout and delivery. I mean, this is kind of going extreme, but she's the leader of the group. She named it SEV Takeout and Delivery, and she gathers all of the information from all the local businesses, and here's the special of the day. And it's created this hub, and every member of our community is a part of this group now. Well, she's the leader of the group. So there creates this curiosity. Who is this leader, right? You click on the leader and you find out, oh, this leader's a realtor. Oh my gosh, she's so helpful. What a great part of the community. Now that's kind of going the extreme, not even close to what she actually does. But I don't think that there are any rules. I mean, and she just proved it. Now I'm going to use her as an example all the time.
So let's talk and make sure we add in there about why she chose, all the restaurant and delivery places, because there was strategy behind that she was thinking about.
For sure. There, absolutely. I mean, everything that you do is intentional when it comes to doing a group like that. And she's also built the relationships, clearly building new relationships with restaurant owners. And, they're supporting. I know I had a problem with an app and I was in the group, and that app, it's a local DoorDash, that app owner was in the group and was able to solve the problem. And it was like, oh, well, shoot, I'm going to use this app all the time now because he was able to help me as a community member. And now we're not going to talk bad about this app anymore because he had a pulse on it because of her group. So you can really create any sort of community. I love it. And it's what you're doing is you're connecting you're being the leader, you're being the helpful community member, and you're connecting your community to one particular thing. It might be a mom's group, you might focus on one particular thing. And that's, the one thing that these moms go to every evening before they go to bed. Maybe it's I have another friend who does sarcastic fitness memes, and she's been doing it for years. So it's like, you always go to her when you need sarcastic fitness memes, and she's a fitness coach, you know? So you can really kind of niche down if you want to. You can create that local moms group. I have another, I'm in, 600 groups. Another local person, and I don't think she's a business owner, but this was also brilliant. And I'm starting to see more of these pop up. She'd created an Adopt a High School Senior, a local high school senior group.
Oh, nice.
Let me tell you, every member of our community is in that group. And yes, yours truly adopted a high school senior because I have a high school junior that would love to have had that, right? So this particular person is this community member who came to the rescue for all of us parents.
Yeah.
Right? And now yesterday I was just invited to adopt a nurse,
this is adopting.
They're not adopted yet, but
right. And this is adopting. I just want to clarify. This is adopting because I've been recently added to some of these groups. Yeah. It's adopting so that you can they had adopt a teacher for Teacher Appreciation Week. And there's a whole group that's dedicated so that you can, just kind of give that person some extra love. So if you did an adopt a toddler group, it's not that they're going to adopt your toddler. It's just that, you're looking for some love and some support for that child, whatever it might be. So I just want to throw that out there so people can have a clear understanding of they're part of any of these groups.
Here's a great idea I just came up with is like a pen pal group. Right? Yeah. How many people would love to write a letter or receive a letter? Now, in one of these local groups, there was a parent who has 2 daughters around the same age as my daughters. And she said, you know what? My kids really would like to send letters to kids. Does anybody have any kids out there that would like to receive a letter? And sure enough, these kids wrote a letter to my kids that are local, so a pen pal group, it can be really anything. You are the community leader guiding this group, and creates this curiosity on who is this person, and why are they helping us? Oh, they're the owners of this childcare center. Of course, they're going to help us with our kids, right? So you can go, that's really taking things outside the box. And now, that's what people are doing. People are really embracing Facebook groups, which I love. Yeah. And they're really being creative with it. And so it doesn't have to be, your daycare, your childcare's name and community, or you can just be, that local. I know in my community, there's kind of local local little areas, right?
Yeah.
The neighborhood area. So you can really be that neighborhood group as well, and you support those local businesses in that neighborhood, and you build those relationships with your local businesses so that they can refer their customers to you by word of mouth because you're supporting them. You like my little donut shop,
Yes.
I think there are so many different ways that you can do this if you really wanted to go out into the community and really kind of give yourself a name.
Yes. And I really want everybody who's listening to imagine yourself having a community at your fingertips that you can communicate with at any time. These people know you, they like you, and it's like they just want to be in your energy. I mean, imagine what that would do for you and your business and your life to be able to be at the top of the hierarchy of having all these people who are in your community that you created. And I love what Anna's saying about thinking outside the box, because, if you niche in, and I know some of our folks niche in hospital care, right? They're located close to hospitals. They service hospitals while others service primary schools and school superintendents and teachers. So you could think about, well, what would really benefit these groups? And I know we're running out of time. And I want to make sure that we give your information out there because you've got actually a whole course on this that people can jump on board with and learn more from you if they like what they're hearing. So let's give out your information.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. I just recently launched a podcast, which is also the name of my course. It's called Mastering the Art of Groups. You can find the podcast on Apple, iTunes, Spotify. And you can also find my own Facebook group called Facebook Group Success. It's really easy and straightforward. And it wasn't the original name. So Facebook Group Success is my Facebook group. My podcast is Mastering the Art of Groups. It is also the name of my course. And yeah, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. And I just want to know, what do you think are the top 2 or 3 ways, and just in a couple of minutes, but what are the top 2 or 3 ways to create engagement in your group, whether it's a closed group for your staff or your families, or one that you're going to create for the community, so that you could create a bigger, cast your net wide about who you want to attract into your circle. So what do you see are, and I know mine, but what are the top 2 or 3 things for engagement?
Well, I'm sure that you won't be surprised at one of my answers, and that is it's actually a small product that I have. It's called Conversation Starters, and it's not your typical here's what to post, little tiny, Taco Tuesday, right? Today's Cinco de Mayo, Taco Tuesday. It is you creating conversation. So the best way to get engagement is to create a conversation. And you can create a conversation every day of the week. And it can be about anything. But it's really putting yourself in your audience's shoes and creating a conversation and asking what their opinion is, or what their thoughts are, or giving them examples. And it goes beyond choose A, B, or C when it comes to your choices of phones.
Right.
It's really a 3-sentence, 2-sentence post that can be any sort of conversation that's going to get people to talk. Because when you have a conversation, it's going to lead to more conversations, which is going to lead to more engagement.
Yeah.
Just, for me, I've customized my own training and course all around my Facebook group. I didn't have that to begin with. I started this whole new pivoted business without all that, knowing exactly what I was going to do. And I built that around my group and around the conversations. So
it's, and it's going above and beyond too. Like, it could be moms and dads. Today's Taco Tuesday. What are your favorite kinds of tacos? If you're having tacos, post a picture for us, so that you can kind of create the engagement. Okay. So that's number 1. What would be your number 2?
Number 2 is, don't be afraid to connect with each other. It's always this one-to-many. But really connecting with each other, or allowing, Sally to connect with Joyce in some way, shape, or form allows that human connection to go a deeper level. I always say that the most successful groups are when other members can connect with each other. And if you can provide that opportunity where you think of, let's just say, this Taco Tuesday. Next week, I have no idea, Meatloaf Monday. And you go, well, Sally and Joyce posted their Taco Tuesdays, and you tag Sally and Joyce, and maybe Sally and Joyce can connect on another level and share recipes, because they know that, they're both on the same level. They both share their recipes. They both have the same love for recipes. So if you connect each other, they mastered the game.
Yeah, I think it's critical. And I imagine that, you taking one person by the hand, the other person by the hand, to say, hey, you should really talk. We've got something in common. Yeah. So now we're just doing that on Facebook with tagging. So don't be afraid to tag your group members. Yeah,
exactly.
All right. And what about a third one?
Oh, third one.
If you have one.
Well, a third one I think is not necessarily a strategy, but I think it goes back to just being yourself. I think that you're going to get more engagement on, anything if you're just yourself and you're not that cookie cutter, stock photo, even though I do sometimes use stock photos, but my story below the stock photo will tell the story. So it's okay to use them on occasion, but really being yourself, I think it just naturally creates engagement. And I'm a huge fan of just being yourself.
And you could be yourself through video. You could be yourself through having contests. There's a multitude of ways. And Anna's got so many of those outlined for you in her course. And we, welcome your comments and your questions. And we'll invite Anna to our page as well, so she could interact with you and you could continue the conversation. But Michael, anything that you'd like to add before I know we're going to be wrapping up?
No, I think this is good. I always like content about how parents can engage with the centers and humanize your brand, and I mean, it just continues to amplify things to another level. So I'd love to end as we always do with an action step from you and I, and end with our quote, and then we look forward to seeing everyone back here on Thursday at 9 Central, 10 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah. And also leave your comments, give us a like, give us a love, share this out, because we're here to serve you and really get you some great content to help you move forward and thrive and strive beyond what we're going through right now. So, all right. Did you want to start, Michael, with your?
Sure. I would say my homework assignment for you today is
homework.
Usually do some kind of homework or action step, but I really resonated with the idea of creating. So obviously I want you to create your group, but I would love you to come up with another strategy to cast a wider net as well. So whether it's having a local moms group, whether it's having, I love the idea of adopt a senior or adopt a toddler or something like that. And we're seeing car parades and fun things like that. So imagine if you could kind of help take some of that stuff online. And be the owner of the group, and then essentially kind of get some free branding and things like that as it makes strategic sense. So that would be my homework assignment for you from this episode.
Nice. Love it. All right. I'll turn it over to Anna. I'll share mine last. So what would be your one action item that you would like to give everybody as homework?
That's pretty easy. Start a Facebook group. Just click the button that says create a group and create a name and create a welcome post and send that out to your parents. That's mine.
Awesome. So mine is create excitement around the group that you're going to create. So share with your staff your vision for the group, and share with your current parents the vision for the group if you're going to do a community group or even the group, and just get really excited about it, because a lot of times our thoughts will go to like, oh, but what if nobody participates? What if nobody accepts my invite into the group? So we start thinking limiting thoughts before we even open up the doors and let people into our group. So check your thoughts and make sure that you are just creating boatloads of excitement, and let your enthusiasm be up to here so that people come up to here with excitement, and then they'll eventually get up there. So that would be mine.
Do you have a favorite quote, Anna? Usually we end with a quote. I don't want to put you on the spot, but otherwise I'll pull one out from my list, or have Julie grab one from her book.
Well, I also, one of my many things that I love to do is I actually play hockey. So one of my favorite quotes is a Wayne Gretzky quote, and it's, I can't think of it.
We did totally put her on the spot.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
it's the only quote that Wayne Gretzky has.
Isn't it something about you miss 100% of the shots you don't take?
Thank you. Yes.
Is that it?
Yes, that is the quote. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, I know that quote.
Awesome. That's a good one. I like that. I think that is so relevant to what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
You're not opening up the group. You're like missing a whole boatload of opportunity. So yeah.
Yes. Very fitting.
I don't know, Michael, we talked about a contest, so maybe you and I should give something free away.
Yeah, so let's do this. So let's do 3. I just happen to love the number 3, but the first 3 people that post on any of our channels, so this is on 5 different channels, so everything is time-stamped. So I want to see your group launched, and then you have to invite some people to it. So you don't need to have 10,000 people on it, but show that you created the group, it's launched, and that you've posted it on your page. So either a screenshot of showing that, or you send it out to your email list, inviting people.
See, I created my group.
Yeah, exactly. I created the group. Make sure you tag us, and we'll look at the timestamps, and we'll give away 3 different prizes. So Julie and I will get together on prizes. We've got lots of fun swag and books and all kinds of fun stuff. So we love to reward action takers. So,
and I know I'll throw in a book and a t-shirt at least, and Michael and I will
Perfect.
talk. And he's got a book. So yeah. All right. Well, Anna, thank you so much for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure. And to me, the time always flies by. So I don't know about you guys.
Definitely.
So fast. Yeah. And leave us a comment. I'd love to hear what you think. And Michael's probably similar to I, and we love interaction, and we're doing this to serve you. So we'd love to know that it made a difference for you in some fashion. And we'll love to see your homework.
Have a fun Taco Tuesday and happy Cinco de Mayo. And we'll see you all back on Thursday. Thank you for
See you on
tuning in.
Thursday.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.